Talk about the levels that your client is. Now, I've told you before not to give this color swatch to your client and say, is this the color you want? You've got to be real careful about that. We do it here, but you're not going to do that in the salon because they will hold you to it. They're going to want that color swatch. They're going to stand up in the light and they're going to look and say, ooh, it doesn't match. This is not it. And then a lot of times they'll say, do I have to pay? So you've got to be real careful about your color swatches. These books that I've had you to make, your portfolios with pictures of color in it, I want you to keep those and use those in your salon because that's what you're going to use to help your client choose the color they want to do. So you pick out good colors, good pictures that you want to take with you into your salon. Don't bring this color swatch book out and give it to your clients and say, here, pick out what you want. So what we're going to do with levels 1 through 10 is just to help decide what level a client is. I'll tell you before we start, most clients are levels 1 through 5. We have a few minorities colors of blondes. We have a few blondes in here. Some blondes might be a level 6 and 7, and if you're a level 8, you must have come from Sweden, and you might have a little bit of too much sun on it too, because no one is really a natural 8. Very, very seldom, maybe 1 out of 1,000, you might find it's a level 8. So we know we're dealing with 1 through 5, some 6s, very few 7s or 8s. So let's just do that right now. I want one of you ladies to come up here, and I'm going to show you how to judge levels of color. Do you have anything on your hair?
Yes.
But not on the roots. Your roots is what I want to see. You have falls.
No, I had color.
When?
About 3 weeks ago.
Was it permanent color? Okay. What's on yours?
I don't know, that's maybe
Walk up here and let's see. Let's decide. Can I take your ponytail out?
Sure. Thanks.
If you're ever unsure when you're trying to decide what level someone is, always use the darker level. If you think, oh, I think she's a 4, but she might be a 5, I'm going to say she's a 4. Okay? If you're ever undecided, you always want to think that shade darker. So I'm going to look at her hair immediately and decide that she's probably a 4. So if I hold this strand like this, what does that tell you? Is it too dark? It's too dark, isn't it? But that's not the way I'm going to do it. That's not the way you do it. So what I'm going to do is go in the crown of her hair where I can get the light to go through the section. So when it's nice and thin, a nice thin piece, where light is traveling through. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my color swatches. I'm going to open the hair up so that light can go through this color swatch. I will put it next to her hair, and as I let the light go through it, I cannot tell the difference in the two colors. So this is the only way you do it. If you've ever been to a salon and they've laid a color swatch up and said, oop, that's your color, they didn't do it correctly. Because the light has got to go through it, through this strand and through this one. And I promise you, if I put this in here, there's no way you can tell that it's not exactly the same. So she is a level 4. Did you know that?
No.
Okay. See how dark that looks? All right, so if she's a level 4, and I put a level 4 color on her hair, what is she probably going to say to me?
It's too dark.
It's too dark, right? She's going to tell me it's too dark. Naturally, our hair is lighter on the ends. Even if she did not have falls in her hair, because of shampooing it, the sun, strong shampoos and conditioners that we put on our hair, naturally, your hair is lighter on the ends. That's the way we're made. So if I dye her hair, and I'm going to use the word dye because that's exactly at a level 4, I would be dyeing her hair dark level 4 brown. And it would be even from root to end. Do you ever see anyone's hair that's exactly the same color from root to end?
No.
When you do, does it look dyed?
Yes.
because it doesn't look natural. Hair naturally is always lighter on the ends. So you've got to take all that into consideration when you're doing a client's hair. I had a friend that always kept her hair dyed brown. She's like me, she's gray. She kept it dyed. She went every 4 weeks, had her color on. A beautiful, beautiful lady, which of course I didn't do her hair because I probably would have done something differently. But every time I looked at her, dye just rang in my head. Ooh, her hair's dyed. You know, you see people that you can peek right up on it and the hair looks dyed. There's a difference in saying, oh, she's got some tint on her hair. There's some highlights going on, you know, but some people's hair just looks dyed. That's why it is exactly the same color from root to end. So with dark hair, that's only my preference. I don't necessarily like for someone's hair to look exactly the same from root to end. That's why we a lot of times go back in and do a few foils just to frame the face or put a little bit in the front area. We don't always do anything to the back, but that's why we do it. So let's go back to our little basic that we're talking about. We've decided that she is a level 4. So if she came into my salon and I chose a level 4 and she said, okay, yeah, and I'm saying, you know what, I think that might be a little dark on you even though this is your color. The ends are faded, you got old highlights. Are you sure you want me to do this? And she says, yes. So I put level 4 color on her hair, permanent color. She goes home and her husband says, oh my goodness, your hair's too dark. And you say, but you know, that's my color. Oh no, your hair's never been that dark. What are you gonna do? The next day, what's the first thing you're gonna do when that salon opens? You're gonna dial my number? My husband said my color's too dark, isn't he? Because you know why? It's not that it's darker than your color, but it's even from root to end. He's never seen your hair even from root to end. This is just natural to have those ends to have a lot more glistening to them than your roots. So I'm going to play it safe for this client. She chose a level 4. We know she is a level 4, but you know what I'm going to use on her? 5. I'm going to use a 5. I'm going to play it safe. Because if she goes home and her husband says, you know, that your hair still looks a little light. That really is lighter than your hair color. And you're going to call me the next morning at 9 o'clock. I can say to you, oh, I can easily fix that. Come on back in. And I will put that next shade darker. No problem, right? But what if she calls and she says, oh, Gail, you've got to get this off. That is a major job. So my advice to you is to never ever make someone's hair the darkness that they even always pick out with color strands, okay? Because they think this is what they want until they get home and their daughter or their son or their mom or their husband says, oh, that's too dark. They're going to be looking for you, right? Okay, so we have just decided the level that she is a 4. Now, I'm going to use 5, so let's just go to that 5 right now. I'm going to say that she is, I'm going to use the level 5 on her. With semi-permanent color, it has its own developer. Permanent color, and that's what we're talking about right now, we would definitely use 20 volume because I only want a couple of shades of lift, only enough to lift up her hair in order to take this permanent color.